Got some parts in for the 4Runner. Yep, I got a 4Runner now too, guys. I don't know if I told you about that or not in the videos, but I traded the Timberwolf for a 4Runner, a Toyota 4Runner, you know, and I gave him some money too. It was a Timberwolf and $500, and I got this 4Runner. So I'll do another video about that later. We'll talk about that later. But here's a bunch of parts for it, and I think we'll do an unboxing later. But I got springs and shocks and ball joints and filters and oil and struts and all kinds of stuff in there. Just you know, kinds of stuff that you'd put on an old 280k mile rig, spark plugs, spark plug wires, that kind of thing. Shoot, I guess we're kind of doing the unboxing right now, aren't we? Shoot, let's just do this. Okay, so I should probably grab the better camera. I'm just using my phone, but there's some KYB MonoMax shocks, struts for the front, and I got the Moog coils for the front and the back, new Moog coils, and I got the shocks for the back here. I also went with the KYBs on the back. These are the MonoMax KYBs for the rear, and you know, to go with the coils and the struts, you got to get the top part right. You know, the KYB suspension mount for the front. So I got some of those, one for each side, and this is just a box of. This is a bottle of brake cleaner. It just kind of fell in there. Sorry about that. I don't know how that got in there. But here's some NGK wire set. You only need one set. It's 3 wires for the ones that run over to the opposite side where the coils aren't. And here's a box of coils. I got some spark plugs back there. Air filter hiding back in there. There it is. The little wicks back there. And I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. I'll show you guys. This is kind of cool. New axles here for the front, some half axles, import direct CV axles. They're the same on each side. TO 8043 China. So anyways, 2 of those because they're both bad, and then I put, you know, some Dickey seat covers and some Harbor Freight seat covers in the front. You know, pretty nice. I got some Harbor Freight rugs for the bottom, some mud rugs down there, rubber mats, and then in the back I bought some Harbor Freight, not Harbor Freight, Tractor Supply, no, Tractor Supply rubber mats, and cut them to fit in the back. So got those in there, and then these are Tractor Supply seat covers in the front, like I was saying, which they fit, you know, they fit decent. Twinkle's helped me with that. We kind of tied them off in the back here with rope and stuff, and they've, you know, they've kind of done all right. But those universal fit seat covers, they never fit just right. They always kind of move around. All right, we're doing the rear shocks on the 4Runner tonight. Got the KYB MonoMax shocks, kind of cheap instead of the Philistines that everybody gets. I just went with the KYB MonoMax. These were like probably about a third of the price of the Toyota ones, but they are made in Japan. And 565002 is the rear shocks. This is a 97 4Runner SR5 V6. And the springs I got for the rear on Amazon. I got all these on Amazon. These are the Coil springs for the rear. And these are the 81041. And that's upside down, you guys, sorry, but 81041. And these are for the 16-inch Toyota rims. I guess there was 2 different size springs from the factory, and in the rear and in the front, depending on if you had the 15-inch rims or the 16-inch rims, you would get the taller springs. And so I got the ones for the 16-inch rims because that's what I have on this, and we're trying to get back to like about factory height. We're not looking for a lift, we're just looking to get it about factory height. It had a 3-inch lift on it already from RevTech, so it had the blocks in the back. And I don't know if this originally came with the 16-inch rims or the 15-inch rims, and then they put the 16-inch rims on it with the blocks to make it taller, but I'm already looking at the springs that are in there and the springs that we got, and the springs that we've got look like they're just as tall as the ones I'm about to pull out. So first thing I pulled out was the upper bushing that normally goes on top inside the cab, and it's just completely, totally just shot. And that sits up in there, so this would have been going up and down inside the cab, and we could, it was just a terrible ride. It was, all bucky and rocking, and not only was that bushing bad, but it just totally was just blown, completely blown, to the point where, I have to pull it back apart to get it to come out. So pretty much it was just riding on the spring. There was no shock at all in that back one. So the new shocks are these KYB MonoMax, and it's barely pushed down, and when I do, it comes right back up. Oh, barely pushed down, and nice and smooth right to the end, all the way back up. So, this is a pretty low cost shock, but it's a heck of a lot better than what was on there, which still hasn't come back up. And yeah, so throw this on there, see what happens. Okay. So, can you see it? Okay, so here's the bushings. It comes with some zip ties just to hold the boots on once we get the boots on. But this is for the top mounts on the rear shocks. And it's got 2 per side, or 1 per side, and a new washer and a new nut. So the way this will go is just like on the old one right here. Got one washer that sits like that on the bottom here, so this one will go like that. And we'll have this one over here next, and we'll leave it. I'm not sure if the smaller the top, the smaller the large. I think the larger part goes down. That matters. That goes on there. That goes up in the vehicle, and then runaway washer that I just grabbed. This goes up inside. This is what was bad. This will go up inside the cab, the fat end side down, I'm pretty sure, or the small side down, and that'll go like that. So the vehicle will be like right there, and I'll reach my hand back up in the chasm that they want you to grab, and that goes on top, like that. And then you have one lock nut that goes over that. So, I'm gonna pull the other shock off that side, put these on, and then try and get the new spring on, which hopefully will be easy. We'll see. Wish me luck. You gonna narrate or not?
No, you're narrating. I'm not narrating.
So this is the new spring on the right. Looks like it's right about 16 inches. This is the old spring on the left. The previous owner put in the bump stop thing that goes inside. And then this is the block that they had in there before, which served as a lift. So it looks like our new spring without the block is about the same size. So it should give us better ride, you know, because we're not having that stiff block in there. It's just a nice spring, gives us more travel. So it looks like it was right at about 17 inches. The other one's about 16 and a half, so it's just maybe a half an inch shorter. But we're not looking to get a lift, we're keeping the height right about where it was before. We're trying to, relatively about the same height. So I'm sure it'll sag down once we put some weight on it, but there's the old spring. I believe these are Toyota springs, I have no way of really knowing. With the old RevTech block that we're going to leave out this time, we're going to try it with just the springs and see how it looks. Another shot of the new spring, the Moog spring that we ordered off Amazon. This is about 16 and a half-ish inches. And then the old spring, it's going to be about 15 inches. So this is supposed to be the OEM height for a Toyota that came with 16-inch rims. I'm imagining that this truck did not come with 16-inch rims. This probably came with a 15-inch, and they put these on to lift it up, and then they got some Toyota 16-inch rims and put it on there. So you can see it's pretty soft spring. This one's pretty stiff compared to that, so it should stand up pretty good, sit up about where it was. I did take a measurement with a picture before I took it apart so that I could see how it would sit. And I'll show you that picture on the screen now so you can see the height before, and then once we get done I'll show you the right height after to the edge of the fender and to the back of the bumper. Alright, well that was sketchy as heck. Got the springs in there, didn't die, still up on the jack stands there. Here's a look at the new spring, or a new shock I'm getting ready to put in right now, compared to the old shock that was in there, which is a Sensi track. And they're really, you know, from the middle of the eye there to the end, they're really almost the same. The one on the left is just a hair longer, I'd say. To the very tip, 23 inches on the left, and to where the cup sits for the bushing, it's like about 20 and a half on the right and maybe 20 3/4 on the left. So really not that much longer at all. Yeah, this isn't going to lift it at all, guys. This is going to drop it down if anything, but we're not trying to build a rock crawler here. We're just trying to get to the grocery store and stuff with this one. We've got the four-wheelers for playing off-road. This is just for fun, you know, just for getting groceries, kind of fun. So alright guys, check in when I'm done putting the shocks on. Okay, so here's the after. We just let it back down on the new Moog springs. We're right at 36 inches, 3 feet right at the fender there. And then around back here. Right to the back bumper, looks like 26 inches on the floor. Actually, I think I did it over here when I took the, we'll have to see, but yeah, it's about 26 and a half, 26 inches to the bumper in the back there. And that'll probably change in the back here as we lower the front, because it'll... What's up, YouTube? I just got into the garage here this morning. I gotta work here in just a little bit, but it's early in the morning. I'm gonna drive on down to the machine shop and take the steering knuckles that I pulled out last night on both sides and get that taken care of, get the new wheel bearings pressed in at Napa. And you can see I got the new shock ready to put in there. There's the old shock compared to the new one. They had the RevTech blocks in there, the kind of a cheap suspension lift. And you can see the lower ball joint that is notorious for failing on these. It looks like they've got, I think that's an AC Delco brand, which is super cheap. I'm glad that I did these because that needs to come out. The upper ball joint's been removed. It's still on the steering knuckle. I got the CV joints out last night, or one of the CV axles is out. It's on the ground over there. And you can see it goes up in there. I've just got a rag in there to kind of plug it from all the fluid draining out. This is the sway bar. I'm going to do the sway bar link. So the sway bar is missing right now. This is the tie rod. Yeah, I've got new tie rods too to put on. Pretty much all new Moog. Everything except for the lower ball joints I'm going to do in Moog parts. Heavy duty Moog greasable parts with Zerks. Everything except for this lower ball joint, which I'm going to make I'm going to get a factory OEM Toyota one for that, because I've heard that they are just the only way to go. See, I still got the CV axle on this side. I got to just pull that out. It's kind of a pain to get the other one out. I had to use that big crowbar right there and really pry on it. I still have my old shock here on this side I got to pull out. And I went ahead and popped the rear tie rod off already. Yeah, so just moving right along. See, I still got to pull the sway link. This is why I'm doing the sway. Pretty much doing everything, but you can see why I'm doing the sway link right there. The bushings are just completely shot. And pretty much everything was completely shot. I mean, just right down to the lower ball joints here. Just, they shouldn't be loose at all. And you can see they're just really loose. So, anyways, gonna head on down to the... Anyhow, heading down to the machine shop, drop off those knuckles so they can take care of those while I'm at work. I don't know how long it's gonna take them to get all the parts and to do the work, but they quoted me at $300 for both sides together with parts and labor, everything, $300 a side. So, yeah, check in with you guys when I get the new parts. All right, guys. Wow, it's been a busy couple of last couple of weeks. Try and get you guys updated on where I've been, what I've been doing. First of all, I just want to say sorry that I haven't been posting as many riding videos. I know you all just want to see some quad riding. And we're working on it, guys. We're getting there. All right, but I gotta have something to drive in the meantime. And you know, you might have known I sold my F-150 and I bought an F-250 with quite a bit of miles on it. Needed some work done to it, and just been busy lately. I haven't really had a lot of time to go out riding. The quads need some work done to them. The Raptor has a swing arm bearing issue, and the carb on the YFZ 450 is acting up a little bit. At full throttle, it's kind of backfiring and popping, so I think maybe the main jet might have some issues being clogged or something like that. Twinkle's Banshee has a leaky carb. It's overflowing, so one of the carbs is sticking, probably the needle valve inside the carb. And anyhow, long story short, I've been spending a lot of time making sure we have a running rig. I sold my nice new financed F-150 because, you know, frankly, I just didn't like having a loan anymore, and I had enough money to kind of fix this one up and hopefully make it a runner. So I've got this 97 4Runner, and we got the front end all back together finally. Oh man, we put tons and tons of parts into this thing. Here's some of the leftover boxes from the parts. Tools scattered around. Shop's just a mess. I had the 4Runner right here on a lift for, I don't know, the last 2 weeks or something like that, just working on the front end. Tore the front end completely apart and replaced everything. Took off the spacer style lift and put in new springs. So those are the old rear springs, the old air filter, the old shocks. These are the old shocks, the old struts with the spacer style lift by RevTech. And these are the kind where you take your strut apart and you just compress a spring in there to make it like taller. This is the transmission pan gasket for when I changed the transmission filter. So hopefully it should shift better. We just took it for a ride and it actually was having a problem shifting, but I think it's because it was still low on transmission fluid. I think I might have read
the specs wrong on that or something. I'm not sure what happened there, but here's the old CV axles that we pulled out. You can see the boots on them are just totally ripped. Get this filter out of the way. Gasket out of the way. You can see down here it's just all ripped, and they were really loose, and I think one of them might have been broken. I'm not sure if it was completely broken or not. It wasn't this one. This one seems okay, but they were really wobbly, like very, very wobbly, bad vibrations and stuff. Here's the old sway bar bushing for the cross sway bar that goes across, and some sway links, really terribly bad sway links, very bad sway links, very bad. Those were really loose, and it's no wonder it was swaying. The inner tie rods weren't so bad. They were like pretty tight, but I figured while I had it all tore apart, why not throw them in there? I think it was like an extra 20 or 30 per side for some new inner tie rod. So I did inner tie rods, and those are the old ones. I put new Moog. I did everything in Moog. Everything that was new was Moog. Moog parts, Moog suspension parts, with the exception of the lower ball joints, which I did in OEM Toyota. But almost everything was Moog. Sway links, tie rods, just everything was all in Moog parts from Amazon Prime. Free 2-day shipping. And the shocks I got were KYB. I talked about that before when we were doing it. But everything was in Moog. All the parts were in Moog. So here's a part I haven't installed yet, and it is this is the rear sway link, and so still need to install these. But just to give you an idea, like that, you know, that's what they look like. And there should be some more stuff in here that goes with that. And there's the bushing itself, that rubber bushing that goes inside of right here. And I'm gonna I still need to install these. This is the only thing I haven't done, and it's because it was on the rear and I had the front jacked up, so I was working on the front and I didn't want to work on the rear suspension with the front jacked up. So that's the only thing I have left to do. It's quite a bit of Moog parts. I didn't want to have to do a video about every single Moog part that I unboxed because there's just so many, but I will do a screen where I show all of the parts that I used in one screen for the 4Runner, so you can see every single part number in one area. I'll list out everything I paid and everything I bought for everything I paid. Wow, okay, you can tell I'm kind of low on sleep when I'm getting entire sentences backwards. I will put a screen up that shows what I paid for everything that I bought. There we go. I can talk. So I've only had one cup of coffee. It's Sunday morning. We had a pretty long weekend. We went and did Mother's Day early. We drove up and saw my folks, and they live up in the hills. It was pretty awesome. We gave my dad some color seeing glasses because he's been colorblind, and I'll probably talk about that in a different video, but my dad's always been colorblind. I'm not colorblind, luckily, but he is. And so we gave him some colorblind seeing glasses, and it was actually getting kind of dark by the time we got up there. But he really liked them. I'm anxious to see like what he says today and stuff. But anyway, back to the 4Runner. You know, there's some oil leaks and stuff still. This thing is pretty good shape. But today what I'm doing is the spark plugs and the rear sway links. And I'm going to be changing the transmission, or adding some more transmission fluid, make sure that I can get that shifting problem to go away. But the main thing right now is I'm taking a video of all of this before I take it off, which is the air intake, and there's a bunch of these little vacuum lines that hook up, and I want to make sure I get good footage of the whole thing before I take it apart. I always take pictures and video of everything before I disassemble it, so I can kind of just, without having to go pull out diagrams and stuff, just look at the video really quick and see how it was. It'll save you a lot of time down the road. So this is the routing, but we don't have to do any of that. Yeah, Twinkles helped me do the brakes, because I screwed it up. So I put this all back together, and I had the caliper kind of trapped on the other side of brakes and everything. I had the brake caliper trapped on the other side of the shock and everything, so what I ended up doing was just disconnecting that line, but of course then you introduce air into the system. So then we spent the next hour pumping the brakes to get all the fluid out of the line, and come to find out that the reason it wouldn't bleed was because the little bleeder screw was clogged. So once I cleaned that out, then we had it done in about 10 or 15 minutes, but it became a big ordeal, and it was one of the reasons it took so long yesterday. But anyhow, here's the spark plug lines that go over to the right side. Here's the first spark plug boot right there, and then there's another one behind that right back up in there, and then there's another one you probably can't see in this camera, but it's right back in there. Anyway, we're changing all those, 3 per side. It's a V6. I've heard they're really far down in there, so hopefully I've got enough extensions to reach down in that far. On this side, you can see they're actually underneath the coils, I've heard. So we got to remove the coils, pull those out, and underneath there is the spark plug. So first thing I got to do is get this whole part right here out, and maybe I'll check in with you guys once I get all that off, and I don't know, show you the spark plugs compared to the new ones. Alright, so I got that thing off, and there are the 3 coils, 1, 2, 3, and where your spark plug wires go over to the other side. This is why there's only 3 spark plug wires on this V6, because the spark plugs are underneath the coils on this side, and the spark plugs run over to the other side using these. So I'm going to pull my coils off. There's boots that run down in, and I'm going to pull these spark plug wires off and replace them all one at a time so I don't screw up the order somehow.